Do you find that you waddle when you walk? I'm physical therapist Katie Wolfley, and today we're going to talk about some of the reasons about why we may waddle when we walk and some ways that you can start to begin to fix it. So there are a couple reasons why we might have this tendency to waddle or move side to side when we walk, outside of having any issues with joint pain in the lower extremities. So outside of having issues with knee pain, hip pain, maybe some lingering issues from old injuries. Just in general, a couple of reasons why we might have this issue. The first one is range of motion. In terms of the body, we have 3 planes of movement that we can move in: front to back, side to side, and rotation. So of those 3 planes, our hips are actually designed to move in and control all 3 planes of movement, as well as our ankles. Both joints are designed to do so. And when they don't have the right range of motion, then we tend to lack in certain planes and move most in others. And that's why we tend to move side to side. We have limitations with range of motions in our ability to move front to back and with rotation from our hips and our ankles. Another area that we have limitations in can be strength. We tend to lack strength in muscles that control and stabilize our hips in that side to side movement. So as we walk, instead of controlling and reducing any excess movement that we might have moving side to side, we tend to lean over top of our leg to create some decreased length in those muscles. We kind of cheat to use those muscles as we propel ourselves forward. So building strength in those muscles that move us side to side would be very helpful for reducing that waddle. And the third thing that can be a really big limitation is just our ability to balance and be stable when standing on a single leg. As we move through walking, there is a point with each step that we are on a single leg, bringing the other leg forward. And when we tend to be unstable standing on a single leg, we tend to lean over top of it so we can stack our body weight, make it easier on our joints and our muscles to get us propelling forward. So building strength and stability, balance work is a great way to reduce that waddle. So here we have a couple of exercises that you can use to begin to build and work through those range of motion limitations, strength, and balance. First thing we want to consider is our mobility. So like we mentioned before, our hips and our ankles need to be able to move in 3 directions of movement. So we have 3 directional planes of movement that we could stretch within. So I want you to stand in front of a countertop, a sturdy table, something where you could put pressure through your hands and be nice and safe. I'm gonna have my chair just off to the side here so you can see how we're moving through the hips. But with all 3 of these stretches, you're gonna bring your feet into a staggered stance. So we have 1 foot forward, 1 foot back. Our feet are gonna stay glued to the floor. You're holding onto your surface in front of you, and we're gonna keep the back knee straight. Our first direction of movement is front to back. So by keeping your chest up tall, feet glued to the floor, pushing your belt buckle forward will give us a lovely stretch through the front of our hip flexors here, as well as through the back calf, and give us better mobility in our ankle. I would hold this stretch for at least 5 to 10 seconds, and then you can stand up, take a little break out of it. You'll do 10 repetitions of these, moving the belt buckle forward on both the right and the left leg. Our second plane of movement is that side to side. So instead of going as far forward as we possibly can, we're gonna go about 50% of that distance, and then keeping my belt buckle square to the countertop, table, whatever surface is in front of me, we're gonna take the hips and glide them from side to side. So as if you're gonna booty bump a friend standing next to you, we're just making that belt buckle shift left and right. And this will pull the inner and outer thigh, as well as working through that calf in a dynamic pattern that they actually function in as we walk. So you're gonna shift the hips left and right 10 times and do this both on the right and left leg. Our third plane of movement is rotation. So again, you're gonna keep in this staggered stance. We're gonna bring the hips forward 50% of our full range of motion going forward. And then we're going to keep our front knee right over top of the front ankle as we take your belt buckle and rotate it open as far as we can to one side, and then rotate your belt buckle closed the opposite way. This gives me a nice deep stretch within the hip socket of the leg that is behind you. If we keep that front knee over the front ankle, it's gonna keep that knee nice and safe. We're not twisting from the knee. I'm actually getting all that rotation from my hip joint on that back leg. And these will help open up the hips, work through that ankle mobility to really improve everything that we need for gait. Our second exercise is for building strength. So like we mentioned, building strength in those muscles that work us side to side. You could perform this without any equipment. If you're feeling unsteady with balance, obviously you can stand in front of a long countertop so that you have something to kind of have your hands across for a little bit of stability. But you bring yourself into a hip width stance, and we stick the butt back so we've got weight into our hips. Our chest is a little bit bowed forward, and we're gonna keep this low posture. So whether your hands are gliding along the surface or you just want to keep hands on your hips or down for stability, your feet are always going to stay hip width or wider. So we take a little step out to the side, and then we bring a little step back in so that we are just staying hip width. We continue to move left and right, staying in this low posture, and you will feel the hips start to burn with a little bit of strength. And we go back and forth, working through any length that you have in your house. We call these monster walks, staying in that low stance. If you're looking for a little bit of a better challenge, add a resistance band. You'd place it either above mid-thigh as the first level of challenge, or you can bring it down to the ankles, placing it down here for a larger challenge. Our third exercise would be for stability or balance. So when we're thinking about stability, that means standing on one leg. So I need you to do this in the safest way possible. So whether that means you need 2 hands on a surface for support, you need 1 hand on a surface for support, or you're feeling good and we are safe in an upright position, hands free, find what works for you. Start with yourself having something to hold on to. We're gonna stand on one leg, keeping all of our weight on that leg with a gentle bend in the knee. We're never locking that knee straight. And we're gonna work through taking that loose leg through a tap. We're gonna tap it forward as far as we can and tap it back. Working through that first plane of motion, going front to back, tapping 10 times in this direction, and just letting ourselves stay over top of that leg. You're gonna feel some good muscle burn too as you go through this. And then our second plane of motion is working through side to side. So again, still having your hand on whatever amount of support we need through the upper extremity. You're gonna tap out to the side and even tapping across your body. Working those hips in that side to side plane so that we can work in keeping ourselves upright and over top of the leg as we are standing on one leg with gait. And the third plane of motion, if you're looking to get full mobility, would be to work to rotation. So I'm gonna take my leg across my body to tap in front of my stance leg and rotate backwards to tap it behind. Like I mentioned, you're gonna work through increasing the challenge by decreasing your stability and tapping through all planes 10 times on both legs. Give these tips a try. With time and practice, you'll start to notice that your mobility is a little bit better with walking, and that waddle will start to reduce. Thanks for watching, and always, if you need help creating a customized plan of care to help reduce your pain or eliminate any issues with gait, balance, anything that might be hindering you, contact us and schedule at buffalorehab.com.